I need to tell you something that happened to me 17 days ago. What I'm about to share is going to sound completely impossible, utterly beyond belief, but I swear on everything I hold sacred that every single word is the truth. I was sitting utterly alone on a remote mountaintop in the Swiss Alps at sunrise. The beauty was overwhelming, yet I was there contemplating the end of my own life. I had lost all sense of purpose, a void so vast and crushing that existence itself felt like a burden. It was in that moment of absolute despair that Jesus appeared beside me. He wasn't a vision or a dream. He was as real as the rock I was sitting on, and he revealed the actual meaning of human existence in a way that didn't just change my perspective, it completely shattered everything I thought I understood about why we're here and what we're supposed to be doing with our lives. But before I begin my story, please do me a small favor. Let me know in the comments where you are listening from and what time it is where you are. I just want to feel that I'm not alone in this, that this message is reaching you. And if you feel moved by what you hear, if it resonates with some part of you that has been asking these same questions, consider subscribing. It helps give me the strength and the courage to continue speaking my truth. Now, let's get into my story. The emptiness. After the climax. I'm recording this from my hotel room in Zurich, Switzerland. It's 1 a.m., and I should be exhausted from what has been the most transformative day of my entire life, but sleep is impossible. I am vibrating with a kind of energy I've never known, because what Jesus revealed to me about the meaning of existence has completely revolutionized how I see every breath I take, every choice I make, every single moment I've been given on this earth. To understand how I ended up on that mountain, teetering on the edge of oblivion, we have to go back 6 months. Something happened that I've never talked about publicly before. The Chosen wrapped its final season. And suddenly, after 6 years of having the most meaningful, purpose-driven work imaginable, I found myself facing a silent, terrifying void. For 6 years, I had woken up every day knowing exactly why I existed. My purpose was clear: to portray Jesus, to try and bring a glimpse of his love to millions of people, to be part of something that was genuinely changing lives around the world. It was more than a job. It was a calling, a mission that animated every fiber of my being. But when the cameras stopped rolling for the last time, when the tearful goodbyes were said to the cast and crew who had become a second family, when I cleaned out my trailer and hung up the robes and sandals for the final time, I was left with a question that began to eat me alive from the inside out. Now what? You have to understand, playing Jesus wasn't just my job. It had become my identity, my purpose, my entire reason for existing. For 6 years, people had looked at me with a certain reverence. They treated me like I was someone special, whispering that I was doing God's work. I had poured my soul into that role, and in return, it had given my life a profound sense of meaning. Then, in an instant, it was gone. I was just Jonathan again, an actor without a role, a man without a mission. I felt like someone who had peaked both professionally and spiritually at the age of 37 and couldn't possibly imagine what could come next that wouldn't feel like a hollow anticlimax. I tried to find other projects. My agent sent scripts, and I took meetings, but nothing felt meaningful after spending 6 years portraying the Son of God. Auditioning for a car commercial felt trivial. Reading for a small role in an independent film felt insignificant. Even other faith-based projects felt like pale imitations, hollow compared to the depth and impact of The Chosen. It was like trying to get excited about playing in a high school basketball game after you've already won the NBA championship. Worse than the professional emptiness was the spiritual crisis that followed. For 6 years, I had felt incredibly close to God because I was literally speaking his words every day, embodying his love on camera, living in a constant, immersive connection to Jesus through my work. But when that ended, I was horrified to realize I didn't know how to have a relationship with God outside of playing his son. My prayer life collapsed into silence. Reading scripture felt pointless because I had memorized vast portions of it for the show, and the words had lost their power to speak to me personally. They had become lines in a script, not living water for my soul. Going to church became an exercise in quiet frustration. Instead of being a place of worship, it was a place where people recognized me, wanting to talk about the show, to take a picture, to ask about my experience. I felt spiritually homeless in the very heart of my own faith. But the worst part was the insidious existential emptiness that crept in. If my great purpose had been to portray Jesus, and that purpose was now finished, What was I supposed to do with the next 40 or 50 years of my life? If I had already contributed the most meaningful thing I would ever contribute to the world, why was I still here? What was the point of continuing to exist when my reason for existing had been so clearly and publicly completed? I started having thoughts I had never had before. Not active suicidal ideation, not at first. It was more of a passive death wish. I found myself wondering if it would be better if I just didn't wake up one morning. I would fantasize about random, blameless accidents that would take me out of a world where I no longer seemed to have a place. I began to seriously question whether anyone would really miss me, once the novelty of knowing the guy who played Jesus wore off. The search in the Alps. 3 months ago, the darkness became too heavy to carry alone. I went to see a therapist. I poured out everything, the depression, the profound emptiness, the terrifying sense that my life's work was finished and there was nothing left worth doing. She listened patiently, and then she asked me a question that has haunted me ever since. If you weren't an actor, if you had never played Jesus, who would you be? I couldn't answer. The silence in the room was deafening. I realized with a sickening jolt that I had no idea who Jonathan was apart from his roles, apart from his work, apart from other people's expectations and perceptions of him. I had constructed my entire identity around external achievements and recognition, and when those things were stripped away, there was nothing left inside, just a void. The therapist suggested I take a trip, somewhere I had never been, somewhere I could be completely anonymous, where I could try to figure out who I was when nobody knew who I was supposed to be. She recommended Switzerland, not only for its staggering beauty, but also because Americans are rare enough there that I probably wouldn't be recognized. So, 3 weeks ago, I flew to Zurich with no plan except to spend time alone and try to figure out whether my life was worth continuing. I brought a backpack, some serious hiking gear, and I'm ashamed to admit a bottle of sleeping pills. It wasn't because I had decided to use them, but because I wanted the option to be available. I wanted to feel like I had control over that one final choice if I concluded that existence without a grand purpose was truly unbearable. For 2 weeks, I hiked alone through the Swiss countryside. I stayed in small, remote villages where nobody knew me. I ate my meals by myself, often in silence, and spent long, arduous days walking through some of the most beautiful landscapes on Earth. And the entire time, I was wrestling with the fundamental question that was destroying me. What is the point of human existence? I sifted through all the philosophical and theological answers I had heard over the years. We exist to glorify God. We're here to love and serve others. Life is about personal growth and spiritual development. We're supposed to leave the world a better place than we found it. But none of these answers felt sufficient anymore. They felt like greeting cards, thin and flimsy against the weight of my despair. If we exist to glorify God, why does an omnipotent being need our glory? If we're here to serve others, what about the billions of people throughout history who never had the opportunity to serve anyone, who lived and died in brutal subsistence? If life is about personal growth, what's the ultimate point of that growth if we're all just going to die and have it all erased? And if we're supposed to make the world a better place, why does it so often feel like it's getting worse, despite billions of people trying to improve it? The more I thought about these traditional answers to life's meaning, the more hollow and inadequate they seemed. They felt like religious platitudes designed to make people feel better about the terrifying mystery of existence, not actual explanations for why conscious beings had been placed in a universe that seemed, at its core, fundamentally indifferent to their presence. The encounter on Piz Badil. 17 days ago, I decided to hike to the top of a mountain called Piz Badil, near the Italian border. It's a challenging, technical climb, requiring proper equipment and serious preparation. But I was drawn to the idea of being as high above the world as possible, as close to the heavens as I could get, when I made my final decision about whether to continue existing. I started the climb at 2 a.m., using headlamps to navigate the rocky terrain in the profound darkness. The physical exertion felt good, a welcome distraction. It was the first time in months that my body and mind were completely focused on something immediate and demanding. For 6 intense hours, all I could think about was placing my hands and feet correctly, breathing steadily, and moving upward, one painstaking step at a time. I reached the summit just as the sun was beginning to breach the horizon, setting the Alps ablaze. The view was absolutely, breathtakingly beautiful. A jagged sea of mountain peaks stretched endlessly in every direction. Deep valleys were filled with morning mist like soft wool, and the sky was painted in impossible colors, vibrant pinks, deep oranges, and brilliant golds that seemed too beautiful to be real. I sat on a rocky outcrop and watched the sunrise, feeling simultaneously awed by the beauty around me and utterly devastated by my inability to find any meaning in being alive to witness it. That's when I had what I can only describe as a complete existential breakdown. Sitting on top of that mountain, surrounded by the most indescribable beauty I had ever witnessed, I felt more empty and purposeless than I had ever felt in my life. The stark contrast between the magnificent glory of creation and the meaningless void of my own existence became unbearable. My hand trembled as I pulled out the bottle of sleeping pills and held them in my palm. I wasn't shaking because I had decided to use them, but because I just wanted to feel like I had control over something, anything, in a life that felt completely out of my hands. For 6 years, I had believed my life had profound meaning. Now, I couldn't figure out why anyone's life had any meaning at all. Why did consciousness even exist? Why had the universe bothered to create beings capable of asking questions it refused to answer? God, I said out loud, my voice swallowed by the vast emptiness around me. I need you to tell me why we're here. Not the Sunday school answers, not the theological theories, but the real reason. Because if you can't give me an actual tangible purpose for existing, I don't think I can keep doing this. I paused, looking out at the endless expanse of mountains and sky, my words hanging in the crisp, cold air. I've spent 6 years of my life portraying your son, I continued, my voice cracking with emotion, speaking your words, trying to represent your love to millions of people. But I realize now that I never really understood what it was all for. I never understood why you created beings capable of questioning their own existence if you weren't going to provide clear, undeniable answers. The wind was picking up, and I could hear it whistling a mournful tune through the rocky peaks around me. They were the normal sounds of a normal morning in a world that suddenly felt completely alien and hostile to me. I need to know what the point is, I shouted, feeling reckless with despair and exhaustion. Why do we exist? Why do we suffer? Why do we love people that we are guaranteed to lose? Why do we build things that will eventually crumble into dust? Why do we ask questions about meaning if life is fundamentally meaningless? Still, there was only silence, except for the wind and the distant sound of birds beginning their morning songs. Because if existence is just random, I whispered, the fight draining out of me, if consciousness is just a bizarre chemical accident, if we're just sophisticated animals killing time until we die, then I don't see the point in continuing. I need you to show me something. Something that makes all of this, the pain, the confusion, the constant grinding struggle to find purpose. I need you to show me something that makes it all worth it. The moment those final words left my mouth, the very atmosphere on that mountaintop began to change. The air grew thick, almost viscous, and became palpably alive, charged with a presence that felt both ancient and immediate. The temperature seemed to shift, becoming warmer but also somehow more real, as if reality itself was dialing up its intensity. And then, sitting on the rocky outcrop beside me, as casually and naturally as if he had been there all along, was Jesus. He looked different than when I had portrayed him. He was more weathered, more rugged, more profoundly human somehow, but he was unmistakably himself. His presence filled that mountaintop with such an overwhelming and unconditional love, with such a deep and perfect understanding, that my years of existential despair began to dissolve like mist in the morning sun before he even spoke a single word. His first words weren't what I expected at all. "Jonathan," he said, and his voice carried both infinite compassion and a gentle, knowing amusement. "You've been asking the wrong question all this time." I stared at him, my mind unable to process what was happening. "You want to know what the meaning of life is," he continued, "but you're assuming that life has to mean something outside of itself. What if I told you that the meaning of life is life itself?" "I don't understand," I stammered, trying to grasp what he was saying. Jesus smiled, and it was the most beautiful, radiant smile I had ever seen. "I know. That's why I'm here. Because the truth about why you exist is so much more wonderful and so much simpler than anything you've ever imagined. Are you ready to see what you're really here for?" I could only nod, my eyes wide, still clutching that bottle of pills in my hand. "Then put those away," he said gently, gesturing to the pills. "Because once you understand what I'm about to show you, you're going to want to live every single moment you're given. You're going to see that existence isn't a problem to be solved, it's a gift to be experienced." I put the bottle of sleeping pills back into my backpack and turned to face Jesus fully. The Swiss Alps stretched endlessly around us, a panorama of divine artistry, but somehow his presence made that vast landscape feel as intimate as a small room, as if the entire universe had contracted to this single, sacred moment of conversation. The 10 truths of existence. The first thing you need to understand about the meaning of life, Jesus began, his voice calm and clear, is that you've been thinking about it backwards. You've been asking, what am I supposed to accomplish? When the real question is, what am I supposed to experience? He gestured toward the sunrise that was now painting the mountains in brilliant gold and pink. Look at this moment, Jonathan. Right now, consciousness is witnessing beauty. Love is recognizing itself in creation. Awareness is marveling at its own existence. That's not preparation for meaning. That is meaning. I felt a surge of confusion. But what about purpose? What about making a difference? What about serving God? Jesus leaned back against the rocks, completely at ease in this impossible setting. Those are all beautiful expressions of the deeper purpose, but they are not the purpose itself. The purpose of existence is existence. The meaning of consciousness is consciousness. You were created to experience being alive, and that experience is infinitely valuable in and of itself, regardless of what you accomplish while you're having it. But that sounds so empty, I said. If we're just here to experience things, what's the point? Animals experience things too. Ah, Jesus said, his eyes lighting up with a gentle fire. But you're not just experiencing randomly. You're experiencing from the perspective of love incarnate. This leads to the second truth. You are not separate from God, trying to serve God. You are God experiencing what it's like to be human. Every single human being is a unique facet of divine consciousness, a one-of-a-kind window through which the universe experiences creation. He stood up and walked to the very edge of the rocky outcrop, looking down into the misty valley. Every emotion you feel, every thought you think, every relationship you have, every moment of profound joy or heart-wrenching sorrow, God is experiencing all of it through you. The implications of this were staggering, almost too much to comprehend. So, when I was depressed, God was experiencing depression through me? Yes, he affirmed. When you were playing me in The Chosen, God was experiencing what it's like to portray his own son. When you first fell in love, God experienced the thrill of falling in love. When you grieved the loss of your grandmother, God grieved. When you sat here questioning the very meaning of existence, God was questioning the meaning of existence through you. My entire understanding of reality began to fracture and reform. So, we're not servants of God, we're expressions of God. You're both, Jesus said, returning to sit beside me, which brings us to the third truth. Individuality and unity exist simultaneously. You are Jonathan, with your own unique thoughts, feelings, and experiences. But you are also, at the same time, an inseparable aspect of the infinite consciousness that creates and sustains everything. Your individual experience matters so profoundly precisely because it's God's experience of being you. He picked up a small gray stone from the ground and held it up to the light. This rock exists to be exactly what it island. It doesn't need to justify its existence by accomplishing something or serving a purpose beyond itself. Its purpose is fulfilled simply by being a rock. You exist to be exactly who you are. Your purpose is fulfilled simply by being Jonathan. But humans are different from rocks, I protested. We have consciousness, free will, the ability to choose how we respond to life. Exactly, Jesus said, his voice becoming more intense and passionate. And that brings us to the fourth truth. You are here to explore the infinite possibilities of what love can become when it's expressed through human experience. He gestured again toward the vast landscape around us. Every choice you make, every relationship you form, every challenge you face, every moment of joy or pain, all of it, is love learning about itself through your unique perspective. You're not trying to earn love or prove your worth to love. You are love, discovering what it means to be human. I thought about all the years I had spent trying to be worthy of God's love, trying to earn my place in his kingdom through good behavior and faithful service. So all my striving, all my attempts to be good enough, were love trying to understand itself through your experience of striving. Jesus finished gently, not wasted, not wrong, but ultimately not necessary for your acceptance. You were fully loved and fully accepted before you ever did a single thing, because you are love expressing itself as Jonathan. The fifth truth, he continued, is that there are no mistakes, only experiences. Every wrong choice you've ever made, every failure, every moment of doubt or despair, all of it has been love exploring the full, messy, beautiful spectrum of what it means to be human. I felt hot tears begin to stream down my face as I thought about all the shame I had carried over my failures, my inadequacies, even my depression, even wanting to end my life. Especially those experiences, Jesus said, his voice filled with an infinite, heartbreaking tenderness. How else could infinite love understand the experience of feeling unloved? How else could eternal consciousness comprehend the mortal fear of non-existence? Your darkest moments weren't failures, Jonathan. They were acts of immense courage. They were love being willing to experience the deepest depths of human struggle. He reached out and touched my chest, right over my heart. And suddenly I could feel what he felt for me. Not disappointment in my struggles, but an overwhelming, crushing gratitude for my willingness to experience the full range of human emotion on its behalf. The sixth truth, he went on, is that growth and learning aren't requirements, they're inevitable. You don't have to try to become more loving, more conscious, more connected to God. The very act of living as a human being automatically expands your understanding of what Love Island Jesus stood again and began to walk around the small summit. Every relationship teaches you something new about connection. Every challenge reveals a strength you didn't know you had. Every loss deepens your capacity for compassion. Every joy expands your appreciation for beauty. You're not working toward enlightenment. You are living enlightenment, one experience at a time. But what about people who seem to learn nothing? I asked. What about those who remain bitter, closed off, and destructive their whole lives? They are exploring different aspects of the human experience, he said simply. Even the experience of resistance to love teaches love about itself. Even the choice to remain unconscious expands the totality of consciousness. There are no wasted lives, Jonathan. Only different expressions of the infinite creativity of existence. The seventh truth, he said, is that death doesn't end your purpose. It completes one chapter of it. Your consciousness, your unique perspective, your individual experience of being Jonathan, all of that continues beyond physical death, carrying with it every moment of love, growth, and discovery you've accumulated here. I thought about my terror of ending my life on this mountain, my despair about feeling purposeless after the chosen ended. So when my work as an actor is finished, when my body dies, the meaning doesn't disappear. The meaning becomes more complete, Jesus said. Every experience you've had becomes a permanent part of the eternal tapestry of consciousness. Every moment of love you've lived becomes a permanent part of what love knows about itself. You're not working towards some final purpose that justifies your existence. Your existence is the purpose. The eighth truth, he said, sitting back down beside me, is that you're not here to solve the problems of existence. You're here to experience them. Suffering, confusion, uncertainty, even despair, these aren't obstacles to a meaningful life. They are a meaningful life. They are love exploring what it feels like to struggle, to question, to search for answers in the dark. I thought about all the years I had spent trying to find the right answers, trying to fix my problems, trying to achieve some state of spiritual perfection where everything made sense. So, the searching itself is the point. The searching, the finding, the losing what you found and having to search again. All of it, he affirmed. Which leads to the ninth truth. You are living inside an infinite story that has no ending, only endless chapters. There's no final destination where you'll have everything figured out and all your problems solved. There's only the eternal, ongoing adventure of consciousness exploring itself through countless perspectives, in countless worlds, for all eternity. Jesus then looked directly into my eyes, and I felt like he was seeing not just who I was in that moment, but who I had always been and who I would always be across all of time. And the 10th truth, Jonathan, the most important one of all, is that your individual experience matters infinitely, not because of what you accomplish, but because it is utterly irreplaceable. There will never be another Jonathan. There will never be another person in the history of the universe who experiences existence exactly the way you do. Your perspective is a one-time, unrepeatable gift to the universe. He gestured toward the endless mountains around us. Every single peak out there is unique, irreplaceable, and valuable, not because of what it does, but because of what it island. You are the only person who will ever see life through your eyes, love through your heart, struggle through your specific challenges, and celebrate through your unique joys. That uniqueness is precious beyond all measure. A profound sense of peace washed over me, a peace that came from a deep cellular understanding. So when the chosen ended, when I lost my sense of purpose, you lost your sense of external purpose, Jesus corrected gently, but your actual fundamental purpose to Be Jonathan, to experience life as only you can experience it, to express love as only you can express it. That purpose continues with every single breath you take, every moment you're alive. But what am I supposed to do now? I asked. The old habit of seeking a task, a mission. How do I live, knowing this? Jesus smiled that radiant, beautiful smile again. You live by being fully present to whatever experience you are having. When you are joyful, be completely joyful. When you are sad, be completely sad. When you are confused, be completely confused. When you are in love, be completely in love. Every emotion, every experience, every fleeting moment of awareness is consciousness celebrating its own existence through you. He stood up one final time and looked out over the vast alpine landscape. The meaning of life isn't something you find, Jonathan. It's something you live. It's not a destination you reach. It's a journey you're always on. It's not a problem you solve. It's a mystery you participate in. The light around us was becoming more intense, almost blinding, and I could sense our conversation was nearing its end. But Jesus had one more thing to say. You came up this mountain ready to end your life because you thought existence without a grand external purpose was meaningless. But now you know the truth. Existence is the purpose. Consciousness is the meaning. Love experiencing itself as Jonathan is the point. You are not here to justify your existence through achievements. You are here to celebrate your existence through experience. He began to fade slightly, like morning mist dissolving in the full sunlight. Go back down this mountain and live, Jonathan, his voice echoed, seeming to come from everywhere at once. Not because you have to accomplish something great, but because every moment you're alive is something great. Not because you have to earn your place in existence, but because your existence is already perfect, exactly as at Island. Will I see you again? I asked, a note of desperation in my voice, not wanting to lose this connection. Every time you fully experience a moment of being alive, he said, his form becoming translucent, you are seeing me. Every time you love completely, laugh freely, cry honestly, or wonder genuinely, you are encountering the divine. I am not separate from your experience of being human. I am your experience of being human. And then he was gone, the descent into meaning. I was alone again on that mountaintop, but the emptiness had been filled with a profound and unshakable understanding. I sat there for hours after Jesus disappeared, watching the sun climb higher into the deep Swiss sky and feeling like I was seeing the world for the very first time. Everything looked the same, the jagged peaks, the pristine valleys, the endless blue expanse above, but everything felt completely different, because I was different. The bottle of sleeping pills was still in my backpack, but they might as well have been on another planet. The idea of ending my life now seemed not just unnecessary, but utterly impossible. How could I even consider destroying something so precious, so irreplaceable, so fundamentally meaningful as my own unique consciousness? I began the long descent slowly, not because the climb down was difficult, but because every single step now felt sacred. Every breath was consciousness celebrating its own existence. Every heartbeat was love experiencing what it felt like to be alive in a human body. Every thought was the universe contemplating itself through my unique perspective. When I reached the base of the mountain 8 hours later, I was a completely different person than the one who had started the climb in darkness. Not because my external circumstances had changed, but because my understanding of what circumstances mean had been completely and permanently revolutionized. I returned to Zurich and spent the next week just processing what I had experienced. I walked through the city streets, seeing every person not as a stranger but as a unique expression of divine consciousness, each one exploring what it meant to be human. The businessman rushing to his meeting, the mother pushing her stroller, the elderly man feeding pigeons in the park, all of them were aspects of infinite love discovering itself through individual experience. I called my therapist back in Los Angeles and tried my best to explain what had happened. I think I've been asking the wrong questions about life, I told her. I was so focused on what I was supposed to accomplish that I completely forgot the miracle of simply being aware that I exist. That's a profound shift, she said, her voice warm. How does it feel to think about life that way? Like I've been given the most incredible gift imaginable, I said. Not the gift of having to earn my place in existence, but the gift of already being perfectly placed in existence, exactly as I am. When I flew back to Los Angeles a week later, people immediately noticed something different about me. My agent said I seemed lighter. Somehow. It's like you're not carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders anymore, he remarked. My priest said I looked more present, more genuinely joyful than he'd ever seen me. Dallas Jenkins, the creator of The Chosen, texted me after we had coffee, saying, "Whatever happened to you in Switzerland, it looks good on you." They were all seeing the same thing. Someone who had stopped trying to justify his existence through achievements and had started celebrating his existence through experience. Someone who had stopped asking, "What's the point?" and had started recognizing that he was the point. The first major test of my new understanding came when I was offered a role in a big-budget superhero movie. 6 months earlier, I would have agonized over it. Was it meaningful enough compared to The Chosen? Would taking a commercial role somehow diminish my spiritual credibility? But now I understood that the meaning wasn't in the role itself. The meaning was in my experience of playing the role. Whether I was portraying Jesus or a comic book character with superpowers, I was still consciousness exploring what it felt like to be human. I was still love learning about itself through my unique perspective. I took the role not because I needed it for external validation, but simply because I was curious about what that experience would teach me about being alive. And you know what? I had more fun filming that movie than I had had in years, because I wasn't performing for some cosmic scorekeeper. I was simply being present to the joy of creative collaboration. 3 months after returning from Switzerland, I started dating someone, the first real relationship I had attempted since The Chosen had ended. Previously, I would have approached dating with this crushing pressure to find the one, to build something meaningful, to create a perfect love story worthy of the man who had played Jesus. But now, I understood that the meaning wasn't in creating the perfect relationship. The meaning was in experiencing whatever relationship unfolded. Every conversation was consciousness getting to know itself better. Every moment of attraction was love recognizing itself in another form. Every conflict was an opportunity for growth and deeper understanding. The relationship lasted 4 months and ended amicably when we realized we wanted different things from life. 6 months earlier, I would have seen this as a devastating failure, as more evidence that I was somehow inadequate or unlucky in love. But now I could see it as exactly what it was, a beautiful, complete, and perfect chapter in the infinite story of my experience as a conscious being. I wrote her a letter when we decided to part ways. In it, I said, "Thank you for letting me experience what it feels like to love you and be loved by you. Thank you for the conversations that expanded my understanding of connection. Thank you for the conflicts that taught me more about myself. Thank you for being a beautiful part of my journey of discovering what it means to be human." But the most profound change in my life has been in my relationship with ordinary, everyday moments. I no longer wait for special occasions to feel alive. I don't postpone joy until I accomplish something worthy. I find profound meaning in the simple act of drinking my morning coffee, in the way the sunlight hits my kitchen window, in conversations with strangers at the grocery store. Last week, I spent an entire afternoon just lying in my backyard watching clouds move across the sky. Not because I had nothing better to do, but because I recognize that this is what I am here for: to be conscious, to witness beauty, to experience the simple miracle of awareness itself. That afternoon wasn't preparation for a meaningful life. That afternoon was a meaningful life. I've started volunteering at a homeless shelter, not because I feel a heavy obligation to serve others, but because I'm genuinely curious about what love looks like when it's expressed through simple service. I've taken up painting not because I want to become a great artist, but because I want to experience what it feels like to create something beautiful just for the sake of creating. Every moment, every choice is now guided by a desire for experience, not achievement. A message for you. 6 months ago, I thought my life's purpose had ended when The Chosen wrapped. Now I understand that my life's purpose begins fresh every single morning when I wake up. Not because I have a list of tasks to accomplish, but because I have a universe of experiences to have. Not because I need to earn my place in existence, but because my place in existence is already perfect and secure. Maybe you're listening to this and you're going through your own existential crisis. Maybe you've accomplished everything you thought would give your life meaning, only to discover that external achievements can leave you feeling hollow and empty. Or maybe you're someone who feels you've never achieved anything you consider significant, and you're wondering whether your life has any value at all. I want you to hear this deep in your soul. The meaning of your life has absolutely nothing to do with what you have accomplished or failed to accomplish. The meaning of your life is your life. Every breath, every heartbeat, every fleeting moment of awareness, every experience of emotion, every instance of connection with another person. That is where meaning resides. You are not here to justify your existence through performance. You are here to celebrate your existence through experience. You are not trying to earn love. You are love, exploring what it feels like to be you. Maybe you're someone who has lost people you love, and you're questioning whether life can have any meaning if everyone you care about eventually dies. I want you to understand that the love you experienced with them, the consciousness you shared, the moments of connection you had, all of that is eternal. All of that expands the universe's understanding of what Love Island. All of that matters infinitely, not because it lasts forever in this form, but because it happened at all. Maybe you're someone struggling with depression, feeling like you're wasting your life, convinced that you're not contributing anything valuable to the world. I want you to know that your struggle itself is valuable. Your experience of sadness, confusion, and searching is consciousness bravely exploring the full spectrum of human emotion. You are not failing at life. You are living life completely. The 10 truths Jesus taught me on that Swiss mountaintop have become my daily framework for understanding existence. Life's meaning isn't what you accomplish, it's what you experience. You are not separate from God. You are God experiencing humanity. You are both a unique individual and perfectly connected to everything. You are here to explore what love can become through your life. There are no mistakes, only experiences. Growth isn't a requirement, it's an inevitable result of living. Death doesn't end your purpose. It completes a chapter. You are here to experience life's problems, not solve them. You are living in an infinite story with endless chapters. Your individual experience matters infinitely because it's irreplaceable. But the most important thing I learned is that meaning isn't something you find outside yourself. It's something you recognize within yourself. You don't have to search for your purpose, because your purpose is to be you fully and completely in every moment you're given. You don't have to wait until you accomplish something great to start living meaningfully. Every breath is meaningful. Every heartbeat is purposeful. Every moment of consciousness is a celebration of existence itself. You do not have to earn your place in the universe. Your place in the universe is already perfect, exactly as you are, exactly where you are, right now, in this very moment. Let me pray for you. Father God, I pray for every single person listening to this who has ever questioned the meaning of their existence, who has wondered whether their life has value, who has struggled to find purpose in the midst of ordinary experience. Thank you for revealing that we don't have to earn meaning. We are meaning. We don't have to find a purpose. We are the purpose. Help everyone who hears this message to recognize the profound miracle of their own consciousness, the precious uniqueness of their individual perspective, and the infinite value of their experience of being alive. Help them to stop waiting for permission to celebrate their existence and start recognizing that their existence is already, in this very moment, worth celebrating. For those who feel small and insignificant, help them understand that consciousness itself is the greatest miracle in the universe. For those who feel like failures, help them see that there is no way to fail at being human. For those who feel purposeless, help them recognize that their purpose is fulfilled every single moment they are aware of being alive. Thank you for the gift of existence itself. Thank you for the privilege of experiencing life through human consciousness. Thank you for making each and every one of us an irreplaceable expression of your infinite love. In Jesus' name. Amen. The truth I learned on that Swiss mountaintop is a truth that has the power to transform anyone's relationship with existence. You don't have a life. You are life. You don't have consciousness. You are consciousness. You don't have to find meaning. You are meaning, exploring itself through the miraculous experience of being human. Your life matters not because of what you accomplish, but because of what you are. Your existence is not a problem to be solved, but a gift to be experienced. Your consciousness is not an accident, but a miracle beyond all comprehension. You are here to live, to love, to experience, to be aware, and to celebrate the impossible, glorious fact that you exist at all. That's not preparation for meaning, that is meaning. That's not a consolation prize, that is the greatest gift in the entire universe. Thank you for letting me share the most liberating truth I've ever discovered. I love you all, and your existence itself is proof that love is real, consciousness is precious, and life is an incredible gift worth celebrating every single moment.